Hello and welcome everybody to the third addendum to my Pillars of Eternity Lorethrough. There's going to be one more after this, but this one will be focused on Pallegina and the Vailian Republics. She is the only character that I haven't actually gone through her quest yet, so I wanted to actually get that quest done. And since she is so closely tied to the Vailian Republics, I also wanted to do the quest or quests that are associated with the Vailian can't remember the name of the building in Defiance Bay, the Vailian Embassy in Defiance Bay. So that's what we're going to do here. After this, the final addendum for the main game Lorethrough will be going through, beating the game again, and getting all of the end slides with all of the characters completed, all of the White March companions recruited, and so on. So let's start by changing to Pallegina here. Oh yeah, I just have to leave. Let's rest. Actually, I'll rest with Pallegina.
See you when I see you.
Of course, she's on a major adventure. I'm just going to have her stop that. Okay. Let's try again.
See you when I see you.
Alright, going to head over to First Fires and then we'll level her up. Alright, so like the other characters, I'm just going to level her up off screen. I'm not going to explain all my choices and everything. Okay, so we have a level 16 Paladin with Pallegina now. Let's go read her. Well, first I'm just gonna pay him off. Let's go read her quest. Should be the only one left down here. Oh, there's that other one. But here's the child of the five sons. Pallegina feels she's been wasting her time on trivial tasks in Defiance Bay. She believes there are more serious threats to the Vailian Republics and wants her help in pursuing them. Speak to Agosti in the Vailian Embassy. Pallegina wants to speak to Ambassador Agosti at the Vailian Embassy in First Fires. So let's head on over to the Vailian Embassy, which is right here. Maybe we'll get a Vailian Embassy quest here as well, and I will do some reading on the Vailian Republics in general as well. I am looking at the screen and realizing that some of it is cut off in the recording, so I'm gonna stop the recording here, hopefully fix that. So if you see a shift in the screen, that's why. Okay, I think we're better now. Galvin Regid, I believe I read that one.
Ambassador Agosti, I would speak with you on a matter of some urgency and great importance.
Pallegina smiles broadly when she addresses the ambassador. Sighing as though remembering some heavy burden, Vicente crosses his arms before replying. Pallegina, if this is the same matter we've previously discussed, I doubt I'll be convinced any more easily. Let's be diplomatic. Ambassador, please hear her out. The ambassador praises you for several moments and nods respectfully. You are well known in Defiance Bay, Biarter. He smiles softly, even in the Vailian Embassy. Vicente turns his attention back to Pallegina. So you're keeping respectable company these days. He throws up his hands and shrugs. Hardly a good reason to go stirring up trouble with animancers and who knows else.
Ambassador, there are issues at stake here that go beyond rogue merchants and a port staying open. Animancy is under attack in Defiance Bay.
Pallegina shakes her feathered fist to emphasize her point. We have to protect our interests here, says Vicente. But that also means knowing when to avoid unnecessary entanglements. The animancers and the locals have problems. They'll work them out, or they won't. Either way, there's too much to risk by getting involved. So, the Vailian Embassy here is very much a company that wants good standing, but is fine with waiting out a conflict to see who comes out on top, so they don't have to actually take sides.
If it is outlawed here, what would prevent the same from happening in our republics?
Worried about animancy being banned in Defiance Bay, and then maybe moving across the seas to the Vailian republics. The ambassador's face vacillates between expressions of sympathy and frustration. Pallegina, I do not think your concerns are unfounded, but it is not the place of this embassy to countermand the Republic's policies. In other words, these are coming from the actual Republic, not from the company itself. If it makes any difference, Ambassador, I'm already looking into the matters Pallegina has spoken of. It doesn't. But it would be fortuitous if your investigation took you to Twin Elms, because that's where Pallegina needs to go.
What is it the Dukes need of me, Ambassador?
The Deerwood's instability has created an opportunity for us to take over their trade with our Glanfath. We will need to meet with the Glanfathans soon to secure upcoming trade agreements. The roads to Twin Elms can be dangerous, of course, but that's why you'll be our representative there.
Echosi, Ambassador. But won't this provoke the Deerwoodans? Their country is falling apart, and we are already dividing up their trade alliances.
Pallegina's feathers ruffle, but she speaks with an unusually meek timbre. So it seems like the embassy and the Republic want to create some new kind of trade with Twin Elms because the Deerwood is unstable. So they're trying to take advantage of that. And Pallegina is worried about it provoking the Deerwoodans. Okay. Provoke them into what? Going to war? Through no fault of the Republic's, the Deerwood's armies have been deprived of an entire generation of soldiers. It would be foolish not to take advantage of the situation. If we don't, the Red Sarens will. Ambassador, there's some cold compassion considering what these people have been through.
More than that, Ambassador, there is a practical element to consider. We may profit in the short term from this arrangement, but what of the future? The Deerwood won't forget, and the Republics may pay the price for it.
The ambassador sighs. We're not the Dukes, Pallegina. It's their decision, and our job to carry out the orders. It's not like they're asking you to assassinate someone. Pallegina raises an eyebrow and clenches her jaw, but remains silent. Pallegina, he shakes his head. Go to Twin Elms. Speak to the Amenfath. Impress upon her the instability of the Deerwood, and reassure her of the Vailian Republic's desire to open safe trade.
Of course, Ambassador.
After a long and uncomfortable pause, Pallegina exhales deeply, and the lids of her eyes closing briefly as she slumps in acceptance. The ambassador nods and smiles paternally. I know you planned on investigating this crisis together, and I hope you understand Pallegina's responsibilities. I understand, but we're still going to investigate it. Responsibilities or not. Vincent bristles and turns to Pallegina. Will the Dukes need to hear more about Pallegina Mayrace's wild adventures?
Of course not, Ambassador. I will attend to the Amenfath as soon as I am able to travel to Twin Elms.
Good. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Could have gone better. Could have gone worse. I appreciate that you stood up for me, but it's hard to persuade the ambassador to go against the Duke's orders.
I know you're right, Pallegina. We may find a way for you to fulfill your obligations while looking into what's really going on around here. Don't worry.
Enough wisdom for both of us. Now, I just need to find out how to get to Twin Elms before the ambassador loses his patience.
She pauses in thought. Still, I fear the making of this deal with the Glenfathans further weaken the Deerwood and make trouble for the republics in the years to come. Well, it's a long way to Twin Elms. You'll have plenty to think it over.
Verus.
It's true. Okay. So let's go talk to some other people here. First, actually, we'll take a look at... So it says, despite her best efforts, Ambassador Agosti insisted that Pallegina carry out her orders to broker a trade agreement between the Vailian Republics and the Glenfathans with the Amenfath and Twin Elms. Such an agreement would steal trade away from the Deerwood, an act that would increase tensions between the Deerwood and the Republics. So it seems like she wants to investigate some kind of something with animancy because she wants it to still be practiced in Deerwood, because she's worried that if it gets outlawed in the Deerwood, then it will come, and then it will also be outlawed in the Vailian Republics. All right, so let's see if there's a quest related to this place too.
Welcome.
These Deerwoodens are mad. Their duke is murdered, and so they nearly burn down the city. He raises his hands and looks to the ceiling. Such shoderi. I don't know what that means. It will be relief to return to Otsia after this. So let's say, tell me about the Vailian Republics. They are rich in all ways, in wealth and style and culture. And if you were to go to the Republics, you would not want to leave. Why would you? The people are beautiful and charming. I am here because the Sangreta Ducala wishes it. And when my appointment is done, I'll be on the first ship out, and I will sing from here to Salona. Seems to love Defiance Bay. If there's nothing else, I must return to my duties. What do you do here? As the Vailian ambassador, my job is to ensure trade with the Deerwood remains strong and profitable. Pallegina said you could use my help with something. Of course. Word has reached my ears how you crossed blades with the Dominels, and yet here you are still. Quite impressive. Vertsan was most fortunate you came along. But on to business. A rather notorious adventuring party calling themselves the Forgotten has made a name for themselves by raiding Engwithan ruins in the Deerwood and selling the stolen relics to their patrons back in the Vailian Republics. I need them stopped. I'm sure you're aware their trade in Engwithan relics is strictly forbidden in the Deerwood. Were it known that prominent nobles in the Republics were flagrantly defying the Duke's ban on the looting of Engwithan ruins, it would put a number of valuable trade agreements in jeopardy, or even cause Defiance Bay to embargo Vailian goods. I can't let that happen. So once again, the decision-making is a business decision rather than a desire to want to stick with the laws and respect the Engwithan relics. The authorities in Defiance Bay have no idea this smuggling is going on. I'm sure rumors have reached their ears, but if they suspected that there was any truth to them, they'd have summoned me before them. That hasn't happened yet. I'll help. What do you need me to do? He smiles in relief. Thank you. A prominent merchant in the Republics, Maestro Parcosi, has also developed an interest in obtaining Engwithan relics and sent a buyer to Defiance Bay to meet with the Forgotten. I arranged for the Knights of the Crucible to detain the buyer for questioning. I may have suggested that the buyer was a wanted criminal. I'll need you to go to the buyer's place, posing as Barcosi's representative, and learn about how the Forgotten are smuggling the relics through Defiance Bay. With that knowledge, I can take steps to discreetly dismantle their operation and discredit them in the eyes of their patrons. Farewell. So we got a new task for the Forgotten. Let's explore this place a little further. These postings show current prices for a range of commodities, and they track the running exchange rate for the Vailian Lucchesi. Vailian Lucchesi must be their currency. Selected correspondences of Giftbringer Aiden. I did read that.
If you say so. That'll do.
Oh, I still have the devil and... I'll go to the end and change that. Who's she replacing? Don't have a dare, but that's because I have Pallegina. And then, nope, Sagani's here. Why can't I recognize who's not here? Spread across the table are the blueprints of an in-progress trade deal between the merchant company from the Republics and a Deer Wooden Weir Wool Collective.
If you say so. That'll do.
Let's summon 3 shades. I'll be good. The flag depicts the symbol of the Vailian Republics, a ship sailing beneath 5 radiant stars. Alright, so it seems like that's it here. Before we head back out in Defiance Bay, let's read a little bit about the Vailian Republics. So this is from the guidebook. The entry for the Vailian Republic is several pages long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I will read, it's still like a little over a page, just the general information about the Vailian Republics. And I will explain their virtues and their vices as a culture. I won't read all of everything under the vices and the virtues, though. I'll just explain what they are. So, this is the Vailian Republics. The adjective is Vailian. The demonym, which I don't know what that means, is Vailian. Their language is Vailian, which I think is kind of based on Italian, based on what I've seen of them. They also speak a lot of Adderan, many other languages in small amounts. Their population is 2.25 million. 70% are residents, 30% are transient, 35% are urban, 65% rural. They have ocean folk, mountain dwarves, meadow folk, island Aumaua, and then other races make up 10% of the population. Their government is a confederation of sovereign republics. Each republic in the confederation is ruled by a duke or a duchess. The duke is, in turn, selected by the aristocratic ruling councils of the individual republics, called the Consueli Assagia, which is the councils of the siege. The Consueli Assagia have their historical basis in the council of prominent families that the feudal rulers of the Vailian Empire would call together if a fortified city were subjected to a siege. When the Grand Empire collapsed, the civilian administrators and aristocratic councils of Vailia's colonial cities became the de facto rulers, later legitimized by the formation of the Confederation of Republics. Though many powerful aristocratic families effectively have hereditary positions in their republics, that luxury largely depends on the wealth or military power of the family. A family that declines in power will typically be voted out of the ruling council if their fortunes do not improve in short order. The heritage of old families from the Grand Empire of Vailia is not given much weight, but old money dies hard, so the power brokers of the Vailian Republics are not entirely self-made, with many of them from former feudal families of means. While all 14 dukes of the Confederation have voting rights on the Songretta Ducala, which is the Ducal Congress, 5 dukes are dukes bells, which means great dukes in Vailian, and representing the Quiteti Belli, great cities, each possessing 3 votes to the single votes of the dukes Panites, small dukes in Vailian. So, does it say how many? So there are 14 dukes. 5 of them are dukes bells, which are great dukes, and when they vote, their votes count for 3 apiece. And the rest of the dukes are dukes Panites, which are small dukes, and they get a single vote when they vote. In practice, this means that 4 dukes bells and 1 duke Panite form a majority. 4 dukes bells opposed by the remaining duke bell and all dukes Panites results in a deadlock. All dukes bells united can easily overrule even unanimous opposition by the dukes Panites. So because there's 5 of them, their votes count. If they all vote in unison, then that is 15 votes to the 9 votes of the smaller dukes. So they can just kind of keep voting to keep themselves in power because they have more of the voting power. Seems ripe for a certain kind of abuse. The Confederation does little to regulate the day-to-day operations of their member republics, but they do govern aspects of the international trade. The Confederation also prepares and provides for the common defense of the republics. The relegation of social activity, internal trade, and local laws is left entirely to an individual duke or duchess and his or her consueli assegi. Similarly, laws governing how a duke or duchess is elected, for how long he or she must serve, etc., are left to the consueli assegi. Most votes in the Songretta Ducala require simple majorities. Admitting new republics, casting out rogue republics, declarations of war, and other major actions require a 2/3 majority. Twice in the history of the Confederation has the Songreta Ducale voted to cast out a rogue republic, declared war on it, retaken it, and subsequently supervised the formation of a new Consuelia Segi. As a consequence, the Consuelia Segia try not to defy the will of the Confederation outside of understood boundaries. The prominent faiths in Old Vailia, or in the Vailian republics, are Andra, Hylia, Abaddon, and Magran. Their products are iron, copper, silver, glassworks, ships, spices, clocks, and astronomical equipment. Most Vailians come from the Vailian republics, a federation of independent city-states comprised of former colonies of the Grand Empire of Vailia. They are a powerful mercantile force in the southern hemisphere, trading with more partners than any other nation or empire. So the Vailian republics are largely merchants, that means, and that's how they have their power, basically. 5 cities are considered great republics and have greater voting power in their electoral council. We just went over that. Sperento, Acense, Salona, Ozia, and Revua. The Federation is widely known for its access to most major commodities in the world, including slaves, and for its habits of impressing or abducting foreigners into service on their naval vessels. Vailians pride themselves on their well-made and intricately decorated clothing, often made with rare materials and dyes to which they have easy access. Vailian culture is concerned with the practical matters of the world as well as their own particular standards of prescriptivist, classist, and ultimately elitist behavior. They view each other as ambassadors to the world and don't like the thought that someone wouldn't envy a Vailian position in it. So, like it says, they are an elitist culture. And they kind of consider other cultures beneath them as a whole. I mean, I'm sure that there are people in the Vailian republics that don't think that, but as a culture, that is the view of them. And here we have an example of another power that at least partly gained power through the trade of actual people, because they abducted foreigners and sold them as enslaved. So their virtues, and again, I'm not going to read each the paragraph under these, but just so you know what their virtues are, they consider success, shrewdness, restraint, wit, and polymathism as virtues. Polymathism, I will read that one because I'm not sure what it is. Vailians believe that well-rounded people are the best people. They tend to brush aside the accomplishments of the highly specialized, in their view obsessive, in favor of people who gain a deep proficiency in a number of fields. They have a small measure of respect for dilettantes, but often view dabblers as pretenders. So I think that must mean, it seems like that means that you can't just like focus on one thing and be really good at that one thing. Rather, try to be a jack of all trades of sorts. Their vices are failure, bad style, bluntness, dullness, and mercilessness. Okay, and let's see too. Yeah, there's an entry here also for Old Vailia, which I think I want to read. This is much shorter. Old Vailia was once the capital of the Vailian Empire, a sprawling and culturally rich colonial force that reached across the sea prior to the Adderian expansion. They settled far north and south of Erglanfath, avoiding any turmoil with the local populace and completely overlooking the wealth of the ancient ruins. So unlike the Adderian Empire, when they came and plundered the ruins, the Old Vailians kind of ignored them. To the north, the failure of their dye-producing Vorlis plants made way for the Adderians to recolonize Raed Saris. To the south, their former territories in the Vailian republics thrive in a more far-sighted mercantile culture. The Vailian spirit is still strong in spite of their setbacks. They maintain a sense of dogged cultural pride, and their people share an affinity for pulling themselves back to the top one rung of the ladder at a time. Old hopes of regaining their foothold in the Eastern Reach are very much alive, though they've learned from experience that grabbing a colony is easier than keeping one. So it seems at one point they had imperial designs, and they tried to take over a good portion of the Deerwood and other places, but eventually they lost their grasp on those places. And they kind of lost their power, but they are working their way back up through a little differently, through mercantile means. So the Vailian republics seem, yes, like a country, but they also seem like a business almost. And we're going to see a lot of that here. So that was Old Vailia. And even though Old Vailia is not as great as it once was, they kind of pride themselves that they were able to work themselves back up to where they are currently. All right. So that was a little bit about Vailia in the Vailian republics, and we are currently in the Vailian Embassy. So let's go see if we can find this trader who is trading in Ingwithin artifacts. All right. Go to the Etlwan Bridge. Is that the bridge? I think that's the bridge to the south of Defiance Bay. And first I want to go to an inn. So let's go to Copper Lane. Figured it out, it's Kana that we're missing. So I'm going to go to the Goose and Fox to trade out so that we can get Kana back and leave the Devil of Karak behind.
Welcome.
Do that. Yes, I can do it here. So
If you say so.
and bring back Kana. Okay. Bring Kana up here. Okay. And now let's go to the bridge.
Ah,
I don't know what that was. Get this cat. No, can't do anything with it. Pose as Mr. Bakotzi's buyer at the Etlwan Bridge. This is Oramonth Hassan. The man's hand rests lightly on the hilt of his flail as you approach. What's your business with us? Does the name Barkotzi mean anything to you? Yes. You're late. And we hate to be kept waiting. Don't let it happen again. Now onto the details of our arrangement. There's a loose plank on the southern end of the docks in Andra's Gift, near that sunken ship. Leave the payment there, gems and coins only. Gems preferably, says Harkeen Wilthorn. They're much easier to carry than sacks of coin. Right, says Oramonth Hassan. We'll take the payment and replace it with Ingwithin relics of slightly lesser value. I say lesser because we have to take our own fee first. We're doing all the work and taking most of the risk, after all. There you have it, clean and simple. Any questions? Don't the Glenfathans get upset when they catch you looting Ingwithin ruins? The elven woman sneers. Her name is Elvara Zilthane. We do get caught, which doesn't happen often. We make sure the Glenfathans don't stay upset for very long. Witnesses are inconvenient. In other words, she kills them. How do you know which relics are valuable? I'm quite knowledgeable about the Ingwithin culture. If I say something is valuable, it is. This is Anvarian Demadrad. Anvarian hasn't been wrong yet either, says Oramonth Hassan. Tell your master not to worry about selling him junk. How do I know you won't just take the money and leave nothing in return? This arrangement works for Maester Fusillo and works for Maester Ross. You don't like the deal? Walk away. You've managed to keep this agreement going without ever being caught? Yep, says Toby. The Vailian Ambassador, Augusti, knows about us and is trying to shut us down. He's not as smart as he thinks he is, and besides, our patrons in the Republics are more powerful and influential. We don't have anything to worry about. I don't have any more questions. Good. Give us about a week, and we'll have something for you. So now it says I have to defeat the Forgotten. Oh, this person, Liliana, says, bad news, Oramonth. Argoti's buyer isn't coming. Looks like the knights took him in for questioning. My guess is Agosti is behind it. So what's going on here? Who's this? Oh, I just got caught out. Oramonth-san, he stares at you, his gaze hardening. Good question. Well, this is awkward. He knows too much. Kill him. All right.
Beyond seek.
It's been a while. I forget where all my skills are. Not that this is going to be a difficult fight. Return to Vincent Agosti at the embassy and first fires. It's, oh, we have a sanguine plate here. Sanguine? Unique heavy armor. Despite popular assumption, the sanguine plate was not named for its blood-spattered appearance. It was originally owned by a barbarian from Rawatai, and while his combat style did frequently leave the sanguine plate in need of a good polishing, it was actually named in reference to the owner's jolly nature. He was popular around and in taverns of the nearby ports, where he was quick to buy friends and visitors a drink, and glad to hear the news from abroad. However, his seemingly inexhaustible good humor was counterweighted by his hair-triggered temper, and it was said that none who actually saw him in a bad mood lived to tell the tale.
I understand.
All right, so let's go do Pallegina's quest. Maybe we can finish both of them at the same time when we go back to the Vailian Embassy. Is it Elm's Reach? Or no, it's Hearthsong.
Wait. I don't know if I should go through with this. Make the trade deal with the Anamenfath.
Pallegina does seem to have morals about this stuff. She doesn't want to upset. Upset's too weak of a word, but I can't think of anything else. The Deer Woodens.
If a Vailian deal with the Glanfathins weakens the Deerwood, it could mean war for the Republics in the future.
What other option do you have?
I could put the idea in the Anamenfath's head that the Republics are not interested in exclusive trade, but limited trade of goods that they do not already trade with the Deer Woodens.
That's the right thing to do. The Deer Woodens are at the mercy of the Republics, and they don't even know it. Your actions can prevent further suffering. She nods her head resolutely. Okay. I'm sure the ambassador will love that. Our paths cross again, Galus and Amans. One of my companions, a representative of the Vailian Republics, wishes to discuss a trade issue with you. The Orlan turns her gaze toward Pallegina. Yes, the Vailian godlike, blessed of Vailia. I don't know if I said this when I saw her, but blessed of Vailia, she's a godlike. You can see the feathers on her face here, which is indicative of a godlike, that they have some kind of representation of the god they are blessed, some people think cursed by, on their skin and their head. This one, she is bird-like. The Anamenfath Faith shows no outward emotion, but her voice betrays annoyance at Pallegina's interruption. Oops, Pallegina said, so they say. And the Anamenfath continues, I understand you were sent here with the trade assurances from one of your masters. Revered Anamenfath, it is true that I was chosen to convey these assurances, but understand that I was fashioned more for war than etiquette. The Orlan smirks slightly. In these dangerous times, perhaps it is better to send warriors to do diplomats' work. Pallegina musters a weak smile. Indeed. Anamenfath, Regarding the exclusive trade agreement, her voice quavers slightly, and her golden eyes dart in your direction. I'm going to nod my head and smile warmly. Pallegina steels herself. The Republics feel it would be in the best long-term interests of all parties if you maintained your traditional goods trades with the Deerwood. The Anamenthvath's long ears pitch forward. A strange turn. What did the Republics want, then? Pallegina speaks quickly but confidently. To Andratara pearls. Trade will be picking up quickly on them in the Eastern Reach. You will buy them exclusively from us for the next 5 years. In exchange, we will be your exclusive market for the Adraban and Karo Golan for the same period. I think Karo Golan is more like tobacco, which would explain why she's so openly selling it. I don't know that other drugs would be so easily sold, but I could be wrong. Maybe people just don't care about it and they just kind of assume it's part of trade. Anamenthvath Bethul says she considers Pallegina's words for several moments. An interesting proposition, Vailian. We will send emissaries south to discuss the details in greater length. Your appearance here speaks well of your duke's intentions. Pallegina bows deeply. Revered Anamenthvath.
That's it. My position in the Brotherhood gone. I can't believe I just made up new trade terms to the Glanfath and Anamenthvath. Postinago.
So she went against the embassy's wishes out of the good of her heart. So she kind of sacrificed herself for to prevent further conflict, but the dukes are not going to see it that way. Pallegina, you did the right thing for the Republics. Even if the dukes can't see it from their vantage, you can deal with their disapproval later.
Verus. They have a saying in Biagepe. New gold clears even the oldest debts. If I'm right, all will be forgiven. If not, there's nothing I can do about it now.
Oh. The quest is already done. It says Pallegina changed the terms of the trade agreement the Dukes and the Vailian Republics had given her, preventing the Republics from stealing the Glenfathan trade. In doing so, the preserved relations between the Deerwood and the Republics. But if the Republics ultimately gain nothing from this deal, Pallegina will lose her position in her order. So it's kind of time will tell. She didn't want to upset the Deerwoodans too much, so she changed the terms of the deal so that both the Vailian Republics and the Deerwoodans could benefit. So let's head back to the embassy. I wonder if Agosti will have anything to say about that deal. Or if he's just going to talk to us about the Forgotten. All right, moment of truth.
Well met, friend.
What? Why can't I tell him?
Day to you.
Ah, here we go. I met with the Forgotten, but it didn't go quite like you planned it. Oh? You weren't able to learn anything about their smuggling operation? It was going well, but they discovered I wasn't really Barkotzi's representative. I see. I'm glad you survived the experience. He rubs his chin. I'd hoped that I could resolve the situation with subtlety, but what's done is done. I have no idea what may come of this, but that's my problem, not yours. Take these gems as payment for your service. So I got a positive reputation in Defiance Bay. And is that it?
Good day, stranger.
I'm going to look real quick and see if maybe Pallegina's quest expands at this point. Okay, that looks like it's it for Pallegina and her quest and for the Vailian Republic quest in this game. So we are ready now to go and beat the game a second time with all of the character quests complete. So that will be the next addendum you see to the main game. Thank you as always for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, those kinds of things, and I hope to see you in the next episodes. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.